Hi, it's Colette. Welcome back to my channel, and this is one of my little readings from one of my books. There's a few people that have enjoyed me reading from my books, certain chapters, and I thought I would just dot about some of the books to read them to you. This is Fortune Killer. It was kind of the first novel I wrote. That was spiritual but darkly humorous, and it's about a serial killer. It says, well, I'll just read you the first chapter, but it's about a serial killer and her guides and her ultimate aim of murdering the First Minister of Scotland, and how that goes. Anyway, this is Fortune Killer by Colette Brown. Chapter 1 is called Faith Hope. There is power in a name. Politicians and singers know this. So do magicians and wizards and witches, who know to keep their craft names secret so no enemy may use them in curses or mind control. By naming something, you give it the power to be. From nothingness comes somethingness, and energy grows. So choose a name wisely and treat it with respect. A good name will take you far in this life. Let it be memorable if you want to be remembered. Faith Hope is a memorable name, the name of a notable person, the name of a survivor who would inspire people. Yet it isn't the name you would associate with a serial killer who will stop at nothing to secure her revenge, or who would kill her victims in such gruesome ways. That's maybe why she got away with it for so long. That and a police force that used logic instead of intuition. Faith Hope. Born Peggy Quinn in a tenement building in Shawlands, Glasgow. That was before it was home to the new Glasgow elite, the young professionals that couldn't afford the West End. Back then it was working class and proud of it. Now it was the pretendy middle class who claimed it to like having the edginess of Queen's Park close by. Really? Back then she was Peggy Quinn, not even Margaret Quinn. She had been called after an old aunt and she hated it. The name Peggy would fit right in now with the new elite whose children were burdened by old-fashioned quirky names like Mary, Jessie, Susan or Katie. In the years to come there would be a whole raft of young women, all with traditional solid names. This of course would mark them out for success, unlike the Astons, Charlenes and Tamaras who would serve them in their coffees in Starbucks. But back then, Peggy was solidly working class and not a name that was going to ever break through any glass ceilings. By age 17, she decided that she would be Faith. Faith sounded optimistic and hopeful and ambitious, and boy was she ambitious. Her mum was upset with the name change, but everybody had to call her Faith or she simply wouldn't answer them. Now she would just have to make sure she didn't marry the wrong person. The surname she took in marriage would have to fit. No way would she be marrying a Smelly or a Pugh. She met Mr. Rightname on the night of her 18th birthday. What a night that had been. She had been in her sixth pub of the crawl and was worse for wear. But back then she could still drink and look amazing. Not now. If she drank more than 3 glasses of wine, she looked as though every broken vein in her thinning skin was screaming for attention at the one time, screaming to be seen and noticed, in competition with the open pores and the occasional postmenopausal chin hair. Her hair would have escaped its expensive blow-dry and be in training as an apprentice gorgon. Alcohol and mascara would have adopted the relationship of predator to prey. The OH group would chase the mascara off the lashes and onto the eyelids, cheeks, and sometimes even the nose. She knew this now, but that back then she didn't even have to. She was very pretty back then. Some even said she was still pretty now, but that wasn't important really. All she needed to be was the best, and that was becoming harder and harder in a world of younger women and even men with skills just as good as hers. There was no doubt she was talented, but in a world of Twitter and Facebook and Skype, youth and energy counted for a lot. She wouldn't go down without a fight though. God knows she'd been fighting all her life. She was in Hope Street in Glasgow when she met him. He was the second person to hand her his name and phone number. The first had been a real looker and had bought her quite a few birthday drinks. She quite fancied him and knew that he would annoy her parents as he was flash and loud. It was his name that spoiled his chances. Charlie Savage. She hadn't liked Quinn, but there was never ever any way that she would be a savage. In a way, there was never any doubt that it would be Stephen she married. He wasn't that good looking, but he was linguistically right. In years to come, he would joke that it was written by the fates that he should marry. They met that night in Hope Street, and he was Stephen Hope. Oh, how silly he was, how naive. The only reason she married him was that Faith Hope sounded like the most amazing name for a young woman who knew she was going to go far. Little did Stephen know that the day he signed his marriage certificate was also the day he signed his death certificate. But that was in the past. It was the future that needed her concentration now. Faith Hope knew that you didn't need to murder someone to kill them. It was a grey area, but if you manipulated circumstances and had access to a person's life, then a killing could happen. She really didn't like the word murder. There was something a bit lowbrow about it, just wasn't classy. People were murdered in Taggart. Killing was a wee bit more NYPD blue. Yes, killing was easier on the ear than murder. She didn't want to be known as a murderer. Serial killer, that was what she was aiming for. It was only after her third killing that she realised that this is what she was, and when it hit her, she was really quite excited. If she wasn't going to be remembered as one of Scotland's premier clairvoyant talents, then she may as well be remembered for something else. As long as she was remembered for being the best, it didn't really matter why. Her final kill would put her in the history books for all time. That would do her nicely. She knew eventually she would be caught, but then she would have such notoriety that everyone would know her name. This pleased her. As long as she managed to have revenge for all the hardships in life, for all the stupid comments and jokes that had been visited on her, then she would be happy. She had no intention of being put in prison. Oh no, that wasn't for her. Images of Wentworth jail flashed before her eyes, and she knew that the clothes just didn't suit her, and nice and easy baby blonde home hair dye was no substitute for a Taylor Ferguson colourist. Yes, Faith Hope knew a thing or two about killing people. You could use practical tools, mind games, circumstances, stealth or fear. If those didn't work, then you could throw in some magic. Not Paul Daniels type of magic, but real dark, down-to-earth, black, inky, occult magic. More Voldemort than Dumbledore, more Beetlejuice than Charmed, more The Shining than The Little House on the Prairie. Dark, fun, devious, clever, classy. Never the first choice to kill, but always available if necessary. She had used it many times to further her career, so why not to further her infamy too? No one would ever suspect her of black magic. To the outside world, she was a successful businesswoman who not only dealt with the most prestigious clients, but also had a kind of Nigella air of genuinely living the life we all would want. That was until Nigella's husband had throttled her in full view of the paparazzi and rather tarnished her perfect yummy mummy sex pot wife image. If her Stephen had ever done anything like that, he wouldn't be alive to tell the tale. Actually, he wasn't alive, but for different reasons. Stephen Hope was boring. And Faith Hope didn't do boring ever for long. In fact, it was Stephen that showed her that you can kill someone without murdering them. That's chapter 1 of Fortune Killer. Friends and family, when this book came out, said that they never wanted to get on my bad side, and a lot of people were kind of stunned that some of the darker qualities of this book come out. But it was such fun to write, to imagine a character who just wanted infamy, and develop her in a way that she was really quite a hateful character, but there was the possibility of salvation. And as the book goes on, you get to see the depths of the things that have happened to her and maybe made her consider the road she's going on. And, you know, my Google search as I was researching this book would probably have got me put away for life, or I'm on some list somewhere as a potential danger. Because obviously I'd look up methods of killing people. And yes, it's very dark, it's very funny, and there's also a lot of really good characters in it, particularly Faith's 2 spirit guides, and also the police, and some of the other characters I thoroughly enjoyed writing. So I'll maybe read a wee bit further on in the book at some point. If you like things magical, if you have a dark sense of humour, and maybe you'll not be offended, then you may like it. And the reason I decided to read it today, I've just been on Facebook, and believe it or not, out of the blue this morning, this memory kicked up and was on my timeline, but I never brought it up, and neither did anyone else. And my sister was like, I thought this is a post asking for reviews. I thought I'd left a review. And I was like, no, that's from 3 years ago. I don't know why this kicked up. And then as I was about to come off, someone said this was my favourite book. And I thought, well, this post came out of nowhere. I didn't even see it yet. It was on my timeline this morning. So maybe I give a lot of love to my maybe spiritual teaching books. And I've been giving an awful lot of love to my memoirs. Maybe this is the time to give a wee bit of love back to Fortune Killer. Isn't the cover amazing? I absolutely adore it. Oh, anyway, so if you like me reading, I'm not the best reader, I know that. I stumble at times, but that's just the way it is. But if you like me reading the books to you, then give me a thumbs up. And if you've bought Fortune Killer and you like it, please leave a wee comment too. And if you do like it, it's available on all Amazons and good marketplaces. So there you go. I enjoy reading my books to you. It's nice. So I'm looking forward to doing more. So anyway, many blessings. See you again soon. Bye.